Choices in Internet Radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the Internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Happy Monday, everybody. The last Monday in February. How did that happen? Welcome to the Born to Talk radio show. I'm your host, Marsha Wietecha, where conversations plus connections equals community. And what's your story? Because everybody has one. And I have a major story myself, so please stay tuned all the way till the end. I have an important announcement to make. But for now, the most important thing I can do is welcome my guest. And I would like to do that now. So welcome Belinda Baker to the show. Hi, Belinda.
Hello.
It's nice to have you here. We had sort of a hiccup, didn't we, at the beginning of the month?
Yes.
I mean, the power was gone all the way down the street. The airport was affected. I mean, it was like crazy. Lights were out, and you had the flu.
I was sick.
You were sick, and you're not sick now,
No, I'm
clearly. So I want to thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Belinda is the author of Breakthrough, A Testament in Faith, and she's also a TV host. She called Changing Steps.
Yes.
You're a whole bunch of stuff, aren't you?
You know, I try to be that all-around woman.
Well, I'm impressed. And because you and I had never met till just a little while ago, you know, I sometimes say to people, maybe you understand this term, instant like. Sometimes you just meet somebody and you just instantly like them. There's something about their personality, their smile, their carriage. I don't know. But
Right.
when you walked in and you have this smile and it's like, wow, I like you.
That's nerves.
No, that's just beautiful teeth. Oh, you have a beautiful
They
smile.
cost a lot.
Well, you know what? It's worth it. I got to tell you, Magic Johnson could take a note from you. So let's spend this opening part of our show today talking about getting to know you,
Okay.
the Belinda Baker that's sitting in the studio today. So I thought you could tell our listeners, and there are a lot of them, a little bit about yourself, your background, and where you're from and all that good stuff.
My name is Belinda Baker. I am from Los Angeles. I was born in Mississippi, but I've been in Los Angeles mostly all of my life, more than half my life.
Mm-hmm. Did you go to school in Mississippi or
No,
Los
I
Angeles?
came here when I was 6.
Oh,
So I was just a little tot when I came here, and I grew up in South Los Angeles.
where did you
and
go to high school?
Manual Arts High.
All right, okay. That's Westchester Manual Arts. I'm familiar with Manual Arts. Okay, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm
No,
excited.
it's okay.
Okay,
and
so
I grew up. I went to Manual Arts High School. I did graduate, and I have 6 siblings. Well, there's 6 of us, 5 of them and me. And out of the 6 of us, I'm the oldest, and I graduated from high school first. The 2 before me didn't, but then the last 3 they did because it's a big age difference, and within us. So I was the first one that graduated from high school in my entire family out of everybody.
Wow.
Uncles, aunts, all that.
Oh my gosh.
Because when you're in the South, you go to school, but you very rarely go to finish.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because you have to stop, you have to work, you have to do something to bring money in the household. When we came to California, I was the first one to complete and graduate.
Your parents must have been very proud of you.
They were.
Were you proud of you?
I was more proud of me than anything because
Well,
I got a lot of gifts for being the first
There
one.
you go.
I was
Wow.
very happy.
Wow. Okay. So then you went to Manual Arts. Tell me a little bit more about that, your teenage years and that part of your life.
When I was in high school, I had a baby during high school, but I still finished school. Because, back then and still today, I think they have schools where you can go to when you're pregnant.
Continuation school?
Exactly. It was a
Yes.
continuation school in Santa Monica. The bus took us there and brought us back.
Mm-hmm.
So at the age of 15, I became a teen mom.
Whoa.
And I was fortunate because I was with my mom and dad. So they basically kept her when I went to school. Because my mom and my dad, they're still together. They've been married 60 years.
Oh my gosh.
And they
Isn't
both
that
are alive.
marvelous?
They're both healthy.
Oh, that's a
and
blessing.
They're both here, and they've been in my life, my whole life with, my kids. So I was one of the fortunate teen moms.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get scolded and, mad at, and it happened. We just had to deal with it,
Well,
and it worked
that's
out.
quite an accomplishment to be that young
Hmm.
and finish high school. And obviously that was a tremendous support on the part of your parents. I hope that they're going to listen to this show and enjoy who you are. They know who you are today,
Yeah,
but
because even though I was pregnant, I really wanted to finish school.
mhm.
So when they asked me, did I want to go to continuation school, I didn't know what that was. So when I went home and talked to my mom, and they were like, sure, because I definitely want to finish. So I
Uh-huh.
went. And then once you have the baby, you stay at the continuation school for 6 weeks. And after your 6 week checkup with the doctor, if he says everything's fine, then you can go back to regular school. So I
Mhm.
went back to regular school at Manual, and I finished.
Did you have a boy or a girl?
I had a girl.
Okay. All
I had a
right.
girl. Her name was Keisha.
All
And
right.
then, that was 15, and I was with her dad. He was one of my first boyfriends.
Mhm.
And we were together for 12 years.
Wow.
Hmm.
All right. And then what happened?
After that, we got together. I moved out when I was 17. My mom let me, I thought I was grown. So she let me go ahead and move out, and I got my own place. I was working at Jack in the Box.
All
So
right.
I did have a job, and he basically had a job too. But unfortunately, that was the onset of the bad part of my life.
All right.
He was all fine and dandy long as I was staying with my mom. But when I moved with him, I had never seen violence in him, and that was the onset of the first domestic violence in my life
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
was with
that.
him. I never told my mom for a long time because I kept like, okay, he's gonna stop. He just, I just kind of like, how you feel like you tiptoe around.
Mhm.
And anyone that's ever been through it, you don't do nothing. You try not to do anything to make that person mad, but you don't have to do anything. They get mad anyway. They can get mad in the streets and come home and bring whatever happened out there to you and
All
take it
right.
out on you. So, that was the first time I went through domestic violence, but I went through it for 12 years.
Wow, it's a long time.
And then we had another daughter 5 years after that. Her name
Mhm.
was Janika. So
Okay.
then I had two kids by him then. And then 5 years after that, I had a boy. So then at that time, I had two girls and a boy. But
Mhm.
this was the kind of like becoming to the end of the relationship because I couldn't take it no more.
Sure.
I'm just like, wow. So
What did you do?
he went to jail.
Okay.
That's how I escaped that.
All right.
He ended up going to jail for whatever he done.
Mhm.
But while he was in jail, I was a mom with three kids. By then, I'm 28,
All
so I'm
right.
no longer a teen. Then I didn't know what to do. I wasn't working because I didn't have a babysitter. So one day I was standing in front of my building, and this lady came by and she was asking me, do I know where she could buy crack from? And I'm like, what is that? I had no idea what it was. And
Mhm.
she was telling me, if you could get some, since you don't know what it is, I can show you how to sell it and make a lot of money. At that time, I was a mother, three kids, no job, just welfare. And I'm like, it sounded good. It's like, okay, I can make some money, and I don't know what it is. But I knew guys that did sell it because of my baby's father. He dealt with those type of people. So I went to one of them and said I wanted to do this. He showed me how to do it and everything, and he gave me a lot of it to begin with free. And I just had to bring him back money after that. So this is like the onset of the spiraling of my life.
Wow.
But it worked out. I made lots of money. I bought Cadillacs. I had bodyguards. I started doing so much. And the guys, they hired a bodyguard for me because I was making so much money. And when you're doing drugs, you always have people out there that will come after you or
Wow.
your kids. So I put my kids in another apartment, and I just started selling out the apartment I was in. Um, so that was that part of my life.
Were you in the Air Force?
I went to the Air Force after I had my first daughter because I
Okay.
couldn't find a job, and I was working at Jack in the Box, but it wasn't something I wanted to do forever.
Right.
So I went down to I didn't take the test to be in the Air Force.
Okay.
I took the test to be in the Marines. But when I took the test, they told me I didn't qualify for the Marines, but I did qualify for the Air Force. And I couldn't understand because the Air Force test is harder than the Marines test.
Interesting.
And I'm like, okay, so do I really want to go or not? But I went. I
Mm-hmm.
went and I was stationed at Lackland Air Force Base.
With your children.
No, I only had the first one
Oh, at that
because this
point.
was like after high school,
All
before I
right.
got into the spiraling of my life.
All right.
So I came. My mom kept her, and my dad kept her. This was the first Shakisha. They kept her while I went to
Basic
military.
training. Uh-huh.
But you know, when you're in the military, they find out everything about you. Because I didn't tell them I had a daughter because they wouldn't have let me go.
Oh.
So when they did, they do a background check on you. The FBI digs into your life before you go into the military. Lo and behold, I was there. They found out I had a daughter. So they called me in and it's like, okay, you have a daughter. I'm like, yeah.
As
So
a matter of fact.
and I'm in basic training, almost done. So I said, do I have to leave? I'm liking it now.
Uh-huh.
Do I have to leave? And they said, no, but you should have told us. So
Uh-huh.
what they did was they started sending my mother a check for her.
How nice.
Yeah, if you're in the military and you have kids, they send your kids a check.
Nice.
And so they sent my mother a check for like $280 every 2 weeks. Every time I got paid, she got a check.
That's
So
nice.
they sent her a check for her to make sure she was taken care of while I was serving my country. And I was there for about, I did a 2 year, I was signed up for 2 years, but I stayed about 17 months and I didn't like it because it is so much sexual harassment for women in the military. I mean, I was sexually harassed. I was in a station in the military squadron, so there's a lot of men. But you're not there for that. There were some guys that were cute,
Mm-hmm.
but then there's some that wasn't. But
Uh-huh.
then when you have your commanding officer trying to, make you go to bed with them and stuff like that, I didn't like that. So eventually, they let me out. They gave me an
Mhm.
honorable discharge.
Nice.
Once I started crying all the time and I stopped doing what they said, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to the paper and tell what this man is doing. So I got out the military.
Wow. Well, when you were talking about this, you used the term spiraling out of control. Nobody would really know that to look at you now. When was that when you finally realized that you needed to take charge?
That was when I started selling the drugs because eventually I started using them.
Oh, boy.
And when I started using them, you can't use your product and sell it. It does not work. So I started using more and more and more, and then I didn't have money to buy more. So eventually I was to the point that I was a full blown addict. And by
How
then,
old were you at that point?
28.
Boy, no one would ever know that about you today, would they?
No, I had never even drank in my life until that time.
Wow.
I had never smoked weed, never done anything, and crack was the first thing I done. Someone told me, "Oh, since you up all night selling it, it'll keep you alert." They didn't tell me it got you hooked.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on it about 6 months, and then finally I didn't want to. I got tired, and so I called my kid's father. He had got out of jail, so I called him and said, "Can you keep them while I go get myself clean?" So he came, he got them, but what he did was he took them to his mother house, all three of them. And next thing I know, I'm getting these papers in the mail. I'm like, what is this? They had called children's services on me,
Oh, dear.
their father and his mother. And they called children's services basically telling them I was on drugs, which was the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I abandoned my kids. I didn't do that because I gave them to him, which was their dad.
Mm-hmm.
But his mother talked him into doing that. So they done it. And she got like custody of the kids. But I can say she was a good grandmother to a point because she did take care of them
She loved them.
to a point.
All right.
But
Maybe like not the way a mother would.
no, definitely not because I found out things later on that wasn't nice.
Well, that's the background on you. When we come back, we're going to focus this whole show about what's turned your life around,
Okay.
your book, your sober living homes. This is an inspiring show because I honestly have goosebumps sitting here speaking with you. And I hope that you will stay with us when you hear about Breakthrough and your book. And so we'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned, everyone.
Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Marsha Wietecha inviting you to join me every Monday, 11 a.m. Pacific, for Marsha's Music Shuffle. My show features music from the 60s and beyond, bringing you artists and songs that touch us in so many ways with lyrics, rhythm, and voices. Put your dancing shoes on and join me every Monday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific, for Marsha's Music Shuffle, exclusively on latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. The name of this song is called Live On Forever by the Afters. And I knew that you liked this genre of music, and I like to handpick my music. It's part of what gives me some joy and pleasure in doing these shows every week. The focus of this part of our show is going to be about Better Sober and also about your book, Breakthrough. So my question to you, Belinda, is how long have you been clean and sober?
January the 2nd made 26 years I've been clean.
Terrific. That's great. Did you go to AA? Did you do some of those things?
No.
Okay, I was just curious.
The only thing I did do was once, my kids were taken, I'm like, I got to get myself together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I knew my life was out of control. And I prayed, to God, if He take the taste of drugs out of my mouth, I will spend the rest of my days taking care of my kids, helping other women get off drugs and stay clean.
Mm-hmm.
I never drank, so I don't know how it is to be an alcoholic, but I help women stay off alcohol as well. So what I did was my dad found a treatment center for me.
Where was it?
It was in Linwood, California. And so I went there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went there, it was a Christian program. So we basically went to church every day, all day. And, we prayed and prayed. It worked for me because I've been clean 26 years.
Was it a residential program? Or?
It was a sober living. So they didn't do treatment because it wasn't licensed,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a sober living. You're supposed to stay there and not use, commit to not using drugs and alcohol.
Right.
And a lot of people did and a lot of people didn't. But I could just speak for Belinda. It worked for Belinda.
But it was it was an in-house. I
Yeah,
mean,
you lived there.
You lived there.
You lived there. Yeah.
How long did
lived
you
there.
stay there?
I stayed there for 4 months.
All right.
I stayed there for 4 months. And then I went in there and I prayed, for God to help me maintain sobriety. I didn't want to use anything. I was smoking cigarettes. That day when I prayed, I stopped smoking cigarettes. I haven't smoked for 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped using drugs. I haven't did anything for 26 years. Nothing. So He helped me.
What an accomplishment.
Yeah.
I'm
and
sure
that's,
you're very grateful.
I am. And that's where I found faith. And that's where my book came from, Breakthrough, because it was that breakthrough of that testament of faith for me. I put my hands into the Lord and say, do this for me and I'll do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so far for 26 years, I've been clean. And I got out the treatment center after being there 4 months. I opened up the first sober living home for women with kids.
Really?
In the San Fernando Valley in, matter of fact, Pacoima,
Okay.
California. It was called Courage House.
Hmm.
And when I got out, I had a job working at this company. And what I did was I started saving so much out of every paycheck to get a house. And then I met this lady at a 3-bedroom house. I told her what I wanted to do. So she basically gave me the house almost rent free
Wow.
for about 6 months. And then I started putting women in there. I don't know. I can't really tell you how I found these women, but I know I started out with 2 women. Matter of fact, the program I was in, they sent me my very first lady.
Interesting.
They sent me the very first lady I had. And then I had another lady, but then the rent started going up. And I'm like, okay, God, I need to get women in here so that I could pay the bills
Mm-hmm.
and pay the rent because I want to do this. And I kid you not, within 2 weeks, the house was full. I had like buy more beds because it was like 3 to 4 women per room. And I would tell them that, you got to be in a room with 3 other people. And they didn't care because they had their kids with them.
Oh, the kids were there
Yeah,
too.
it goes for women with kids.
Wow.
So as long as they could come somewhere and try to get clean and be able to keep their kids so children's services wouldn't take them, they didn't care where they slept as long as they had their kids.
Were you a resident there at the same time as well, or did you have
I owned it. I started it.
So I mean, you lived there with your
No,
children.
I didn't live there. I had my own house.
Okay, so you had a director that lived there with
Yeah, I had a residential manager.
All right.
So I had hired this girl that was clean, and she was the manager, so she managed it for me. I'd come every day to make sure things were good, and she
Sure.
basically handled the night. So about 2 months of it, we were full. I didn't advertise. I just was telling people what I did, and all of a sudden, all these women started coming.
Did you get any of them referred to you from jail?
No, I
Okay.
don't know. You know what? Well, not that particular time. I
Okay,
didn't.
at that point, okay.
But about maybe 5 months down the road, I got one lady. Her parole officer called me, and she's still my friend to this very
Isn't that
day.
nice?
She got her kids while she was there, and her kids are like in their 30s now.
Nice.
And she works for me when I need her. She come and work for me because she's grateful. She got out of prison, and she stayed there. And her name was Sean, and I love her to death. And we became really good friends.
How did you find the courage to do something as dramatic as that? Did you have the support and guidance from your parents? I mean, you were young. How?
No, because of me being in the program I was in, I learned. And I looked at how they done it. I looked at how they ran it.
And
I'm
you
like,
said,
I could do
do
this.
that.
Exactly. I could do this. And so when I got out, I found the house. I put some beds in there. And then these women started coming, and but mine wasn't a Christian program because what works for somebody don't work for everybody.
Sure.
But and I found the program that they could go to in the daytime, a drug treatment program. So they would send a van to pick them up. And a part of staying there, you had to go.
So they resided with you and took treatment off the residential
Yes.
location.
Yes, and they tested them and everything. That's how I knew if anybody was drinking or using,
Right.
because they were
They
tested.
had to remain sober.
Yeah, they did. And this was a big facility in the valley that was for pregnant women. So they came and picked them up, took them, and they brought them
Wonderful.
back after like 6 hours. So they were all gone 6 hours a day. So when they came back, it was time to cook dinner, take care of your kids, put them to bed. And by the time they got up the next morning, they went back to treatment.
Did some of these women also end up getting their GEDs and getting education and some of those things as well?
They did, and a lot of them went to college. Some of them got their kids, if their kids were already in the system, a lot of them got their kids back.
They were reconnected.
Yeah, and my thing was that I did what I did, but a lot of those women I knew didn't deserve their kids back, but that was not my call. It was the court's call. As long as they'd
Right.
done everything the judge said, they got them back. And when I had that feeling, within about 6 to 7 months later, those same kids were taken back again because the women relapsed.
Yes. So tell me about some of you have more than one sober home?
Right
At-
now, I don't have sober homes. I have licensed drug treatment
okay.
centers.
All right, but so tell me about your programs. Tell me about what it is, the services and programs that you provide before.
Okay.
Because then I do really want to talk about your book as well.
Okay, what I do now is that I became a drug counselor at a facility. And I was counseling people and doing all that, but I didn't like the way they ran their program. They were just wanted the money. They didn't care about the people.
Oh.
So one of the owners of that place, the first lady, it was a lady and 2 men. I was going to beat her up because she said something bad, and I went after her, and they stopped me. I was going to really hurt her, and they stopped. She was a Russian lady, very mean. So they stopped me, and then the other owner, he took me to lunch. And I said, okay, I know I'm fired. Just tell me I'm fired because I'm going to beat up the owner and tell me I'm fired. He said, no. He said, I see potential in you. I'm like, really? He said, what is it that you want? I said, I could own a program. I could do one of these. So he helped me get my paperwork done, helped me license my first facility in 2002. It was an outpatient. And he helped me get clients.
Where was
And
this located?
in LA, South Central LA
All
was the
right.
first place. And it was actually a licensed treatment where they come in, they do testing, and they do treatment and they go home. So I did that for 12 years.
Men and women?
Men and women and kids, because I was able to do kids. I
Oh,
did a lot of kids.
juveniles.
Juveniles, a lot of group homes, foster homes. We did their kids, treated them, tested them for drugs. Went with children's services. Then I started the residential where they lived there. So I opened up a licensed residential facility, and I do have now the outpatient and the residential where they live, and I accept insurance. So you have to have insurance because insurance pays for it.
Isn't that nice?
It pays for it. They can stay there anywhere from 60 to 90 days, depending on their insurance policy.
Yeah, I learned a lot since I haven't had firsthand knowledge of this life experience. But you and I were talking before we went on the air how much you and I enjoy television, and a show that I constantly watched when it was not in reruns was Intervention.
Yeah.
And I found myself so compelled to watch that show every week because there always seemed to be hope in what seemed to be such a dismal situation.
Right.
I really didn't know what it was like to be spiraling out of control on drugs and
not
alcohol,
a good feeling.
or how it just robs you of your life.
And at the time, you're not thinking.
Right.
The drugs are thinking for you.
Right.
So you're not thinking until, everybody has that instant to where it's like, I don't want to do this no more.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes some of them go back,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them take charge and listen to that little bell when it's in there, and they take control of themselves and they go into treatment. But you have to want to stop in order to stop. People could tell you all day long, I'm going to put you in jail. I'm going to take your kids. I'm going to do this. But if it's not in you, you don't want to stop, you're not.
You need, I know from personal experience, I have close friends that this one particular person has just had her 19th birthday of sobriety, going through AA. And she was fortunate. Her parents took in her children. They didn't go to foster care. And I don't know where she would have been today had it not been from the support of her family. But now she too is a mentor for others, and it's inspiring to hear her story. Have you ever heard of the Friendly House in Santa Monica?
I sure have.
Well, I had Monica Phillips on my show this past year. She's the director of that. And, they just hired the woman that did the intervention show, the lady with the red hair.
Really?
I would know her name if I heard it right off the top of my head. But she was that person that was on that TV show. She is now working directly with them. They were the very first women's alcohol women's sober living home.
Was.
And there's a need for this because it's an epidemic, right?
People think that people are on drugs and alcohol because, that's what they want to do. No. It's a disease. It's like, I hate to compare it to like cancer, but it can eat you up. It can kill you. So it is similar because, people get out there and their lives are so out of control until, some people will stop, some won't. But I've seen and heard of so many young people dying from overdosing on heroin. Heroin is really bad right now.
And we haven't even mentioned the homeless world and that aspect of drugs and alcohol. And that is gripping cities across the country as well.
Yeah, and sometimes drugs, when you're on drugs and alcohol and you have mental illness,
absolutely,
it's called dual diagnosed because, you're putting two different things together, two diseases together, mental disease and drug disease together, which can totally tear your mind apart.
Absolutely. Throw in some PTSD. There's all kinds of issues.
All kinds.
Would you spend some time in this segment to tell us about your book? Why did you write the book? It's called, why don't you tell people the name of your book and why you wrote it?
The first book I wrote is called Breakthrough, A Testament of Faith. It's because when I prayed, the day I got to my knees and I'm like, I'm tired. I didn't want to do no more drugs. And I just broke through all that and I found faith. I knew there was a God. Everybody knows there is a God, but Whether you believe God's going to help you or not, that's a different thing.
Right.
So that day when I got on my knees and I prayed so hard not to do drugs anymore, I just didn't want it. I didn't want to even smell it. So I just said, take the taste. Because you can say, oh, stop me from using. Okay, you stop using drugs, but you may do something else. I
Mhm.
want the taste of any and everything, all mind altering substances away
Mhm.
for me. So that's why I named the book Breakthrough, A Testament of Faith, because I broke through everything and found faith. And, the book tells my testament of how I done it, the things I went through to get to that point to say, I can't do this anymore.
Mhm.
I just couldn't.
What would you give as some tips that are in your book that you would say to somebody that might be listening today on finding a way to have this breakthrough?
First of all, you have to pray. You pray to God, then you start looking for a treatment center. There you could just Google treatment centers and so many come up. There's numbers on TV say, if you have a drug problem, dial this number. Some of the places on there are legit and some of them are not,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll never know until you reach out and try.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you've never done it, you don't know what's legit and what's not. Because there's a lot of bad facilities and there's a lot of good ones. So you have to wean it and you call the number, they'll send you, to some place. You go. And if those people are not caring about you, get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know they're going to bill your insurance and get a lot of money and they're not helping you. And what's going to happen, you going through this 30-day treatment program, and after you get out, the first thing you're gonna do is go find you something to use because you wasn't treated. You were there, but you weren't
You
being
were
treated.
residing, but you weren't being treated.
Now they have medications to help people withdraw. Because when clients come into our facility, the first thing we do, take them to the doctor. And there's
Do you arrange for them to get there?
I have staff.
I don't mean you personally,
Oh, yeah.
yourself. So your organization will take them to the doctor.
Yeah, you have to have a doctor on your program. Every drug and alcohol
right.
licensed facility has to be associated with a detox doctor.
All right.
Because if somebody comes into your facility and you don't have a doctor, then something happens to them, you're liable.
Okay.
So we do have a doctor. Everyone has to have one. That shows when you're legit. If they take you to the doctor, okay, they legit. They don't take you to the doctor, they're not. Because the doctor can give them medications to help them withdraw easily.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do because sometimes people can die withdrawing.
Candy Feniger. That's the name. It just came to me.
The lady's
lady,
name?
Candy.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know why that popped in because now I'm kind of visualizing that show, and you're right. They did take them to doctors as I witnessed
You have to
watching
go
that.
to a doctor.
And because the detoxing can be painfully it can be very difficult.
It
correct?
can. Some people detox easy. Some people detox hard. So you have to go to the doctor, and the doctor will talk to them, see what they've been using, and prescribe the medications to give them
Mm-hmm.
to help them ease through it. Now, it doesn't stop the total withdrawal,
Mm-hmm.
but it helps it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as painful as some people. Some people don't go into treatment because it's like, oh, I don't want to start withdrawing because if you're out in the streets and you don't have no money to get nothing,
Right.
you start fiending and you
Right.
start getting the quivers and you start getting sick.
Right.
But if you
Actually, physically ill, right?
Yeah, you get physically ill, but if you have the medication to help you and to resolve some of those issues, the nausea and all that, then you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we take everybody to a
And not
doctor.
just nausea, it's actual physical pain too. Is that right? Is
Yeah, it's
there-
physical pain.
Right.
So they get some Subox and
Mhm.
Valiums to calm them down.
Right.
Gabapentin for anxiety. The doctor gives them all kind of stuff.
How critical is their family in this process of coming off of these drugs?
Sometimes when people are on drugs, they've torn the bridge with their families, and a
Mhm.
lot of times their families don't have
They've
nothing
had
to
it.
do with it because you don't know what that person has done.
Mm-hmm.
When they come to us, they tell us one thing, but then when you talk to the parent, it's like, no, they can't come back here. We found out they just stole everything, then pawned everything. I
Right.
mean, very bad.
I've heard that. Do you have homes? Well, we're going to talk more about that. I think it's remarkable that you've written your book, and I will talk about how people.
Yeah, and I'm on my
Can-
second book.
Oh, what's the name of that?
It's called No More Butterflies.
No More Butterflies. Interesting.
And once I tell you why,
Oh, I'm looking
Then it's
forward
like,
to that.
oh, okay.
Leave that hook in place, shall
Okay.
you? We're going to take another break. This song, Praying, was so significant during the, what was it, the Emmys, I think, that was just on when Keisha performed this.
Hmm.
Just thought it was so beautiful, so
I love
powerful.
this.
I love this song. So we're going to take a very short break, everybody, and then we'll be right back. You're listening to Born to Talk with Marsha and Belinda. Stay tuned, everybody.
Changing. I hope you find your peace, falling on your knees, praying. I'm proud of who I am. No more monsters, I can breathe again.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Marsha Wietecha inviting you to join me every Monday, 11 a.m. Pacific, for Marsha's Music Shuffle. My show features music from the 60s and beyond, bringing you artists and songs that touch us in so many ways with lyrics, rhythm, and voices. Put your dancing shoes on and join me every Monday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific, for Marsha's Music Shuffle, exclusively on latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
A song about love, a song about hope.
All right, so I'm just curious. This is called A Song About Hope and a song about faith. And really, when I selected this song for you, Belinda, kind of like praying, it kind of brought chills to me because the lyrics and the melody is so beautiful.
It is.
And this really is a show about hope and faith because you have plenty of stories that you can share because it hasn't always been easy. And I thought maybe right now, I know you've just embarked on something that's very exciting. You're not just an author, but you also have a TV show. And I thought we could talk about your studio show called Changing Steps. What's that all about?
Changing Steps. The show originally was called Changing Steps with Belinda, but we shortened it to Changing Steps. Changing Steps is an outlet where people want to voice things and they can't, and a lot of times they don't have people to listen to them. So we are actually on KILM, which is on every cable channel. So we're really on Real TV.
Wonderful.
And Punch TV is the
Heard in
network.
some, right, okay, but
Yep.
KLIM. I'm
KILM
sorry,
is the
KILM.
physical network on TV.
All right. And how often are you on?
We just shot last week the new season 2. We will be on Monday through Friday from 10 to 11 in the morning.
Those of
It's
you
a daily show.
Those of you that aren't in this business, holy cow,
Mhm.
that's a lot.
That's
Y-
a
and
lot.
you host it,
I host
and
it
you have your guests that join you each
Mhm.
week, every day.
every day. That was the task of coming up with all these topics and
Oh
then
my-
finding the people.
Oh my gosh!
But we did it.
Because I would imagine. Well, so tell me about the show. How did you come about getting your guests, and tell me about the show itself?
I started the show in 2012. I don't know. I just like to do different things.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I'm like, I could do what Wendy Williams do. I could do what Oprah do.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be a Dr. Phil.
There you have it.
So what I did was I started looking at these talk shows,
Mhm.
and then I had people that I knew that was in the industry, and I'm like, you know what? I want to do a talk show. So can somebody show me how to get on TV? So what I did was we shot.
I'm so sorry. Oh, because I can't believe I had that on. That's the unbeauty of live television. That was actually
Exactly.
from Sharifa, believe it or
Oh,
not,
I
our
wondered if I
mutual
came.
friend. I apologize. Go ahead.
So I wanted to do a talk show like Wendy Williams, and I really wanted to more so be like Dr. Phil show.
Sure.
So what I even went as far as getting a minister license. So I am an ordained minister too.
Good for you.
So if people like, okay, what gives you the right to be able to talk to people? Number one, I've been counseling in my field for 25 years. So
You're an
I've
expert.
talked to thousands and thousands of people. And then I am an ordained minister, so I have that. And I feel that gives me the qualification plus 25 years of talking to people, listening to their problems and helping them solve their problems. I could talk to anybody. So we shot like 13 episodes. I paid for them all. My husband has this big old hall that he rent out for parties. So what we did, we made a little studio there.
How
And
nice.
then I had an office, Changing Steps office. So we shot some of the stuff there. So we make shift. We did what we had to do. And then I shot them and then we shopped them around. And somebody took them to Punch TV. And the owner of the CEO, Joseph, liked them. And he said, I want these on my network. And I'm like, yes. And it wasn't even 2 months later. So those are the
Wow.
shows that you're seeing now. We did those back in 2012 and 2013. So he put them on and they were showing and people were loving them. So he wanted me to do more episodes. So we did more episodes for this year. But what it is, Changing Steps is basically, showing people how to change the steps in their life. So if you're walking straight and narrow and it's not working for you, change your steps. Go right. And then if you're doing it like that and it don't work, change your steps and go left. There is not a number of times you could change the steps in your life. It's free to change your steps because your thinking pattern is your thinking pattern. And if you're doing something that costs money, take that same amount of money, but change the way you're doing it to figure out what makes it right. And my show is more compelling because I deal with everyday issues of women in the community and men. A couple of the shows I did was women and who have kids in the foster care system. I had the foster child, I had the mother that gave her up or lost her, and then I had the foster mother. And then I did shows like Poly Life. This guy who, says that he has these 8 women and they all live together. And I'm like,
What?
yeah, check it out. And I'm like, okay, Poly Life. Why? He said poly, is more than one, and we're living that life. I'm like, to me, you're just a pimp with all these women who do whatever you say because I couldn't understand it. But it's, if you like it, I love it. That's your life.
So changing steps isn't only about people that have issues perhaps with drug or alcohol.
No.
It's about changing anything in your life. If you're
Yes.
moving in one direction and you've decided to take a step in another direction, this is an opportunity to talk with you on television.
Yes. So it's not a show about drugs and alcohol. It's a show about everyday life
Wow.
and how to change things. And it's an outlet. Like, one lady last week was telling me her son got killed. And she was like, if I didn't have you to come and, say how I feel and talk about it, it was eating me up. They have friends to talk to. But when you're in front of 26 million people that can see your
Correct.
show, then that's like spreading it out because someone will see the show and say, that's me. That fits me
Mhm.
on any subject. And if it's
Mhm.
26 million, you're going to have a few
You
that
bet.
see it. So that's what changing steps is, changing the steps in lives.
With so much in today's news and the newspaper and social media and the tragedies that have happened in
Yeah.
Florida and the Me Too and Enough is Enough and all of the things, what's happened with these young, not even voting age teenagers that have taken action across this country. To have a platform like what you have, what's called Changing Steps, I would imagine that people are going to be reaching out to you and say, I would like to be a part of what it is you're doing.
Because, I listen to what these young kids do and I don't understand how come with anyone you didn't see a problem starting.
Mm-hmm.
People just don't wake up today and say, oh, I'm going to go kill somebody. There's something along the lines that's noticeable, a change in a person.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe sometimes, they've burnt the bridges with their parents or their friends think they're just talking, but they say these things and nobody believes them. People need to be more attentive to what people say.
and their actions. You make me recall, after doing my show nearly 3 years now, some of the shows that I've done in the past. One of them was called Bullies and Friends,
Uh-huh.
and this was a documentarian, and it was it was a show that I had talking about noticing if your child is being bullied, or perhaps your child is a bully. Are you noticing changes?
Exactly.
Have the grades changed? Is the person that you were once so friendly with not your friend anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you change the way you're dressing? Why did you change the way you're eating? And we're just talking maybe about youth, but it could be just demonstrated in a lot of different areas. And
Exactly.
maybe I don't know, in changing steps, are there people that are actually in a happy place looking to go to a different happy place?
Yeah, there's, the shows that we do are community. People in the
Mhm.
community. I have a associate producer who find the people
Mhm.
through their problems and bring them on. But when it's like some people, some of the producers are like, why don't you get them all and talk to them before we put them on the air? And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to be stunned. I don't want to do a pre preparation with nobody. I want them to be on set, and then I ask the questions I ask. Then I
Mhm.
get their reaction. Because to me, if you prepare somebody, you're not going to get that real person
Mhm.
because they're going to be staged, and I don't like staged.
Right.
I want you to tell me because I know, like one lady, she was telling me these things, and I'm listening to her, and I'm like, it's not right. Something you're saying is
Is
missing.
yes.
There's not something's not there
There's a
that you're saying
disconnect.
there's something wrong. Come to find out after the show, number one, she was grandmother raising grandkids. Her daughter don't want the child back, but she wants the child back. So, and her daughter's son then shot up their house. I mean, all this
Mm.
stuff because I knew even we're not gonna even air that one. I've said scrap that one because it was no truth into nothing she was saying. I'm not gonna air something where I'm sitting there trying to pull the truth out of you and you're not telling me the truth. So that's
Right.
one show that we're not gonna do.
Well, that's the beauty of pre-recording your shows, right? Before
Hmm.
they air, you're going to edit your shows
Yeah,
and,
we
and
edit them,
determine.
and then I could pick which ones I like and which ones I don't like, and
Mhm.
that one I didn't like because it wasn't real. I don't like unreal.
Mhm. You can tell when someone's genuine.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew the moment I looked at you what the genuineness about you, and how nice that your husband is he involved in this with you?
No.
Just the space.
Only that one time when we shot those other episodes.
I
But
see.
right now, no, he's
No.
not. I do this because I love it. Um,
Wow.
and I had a granddaughter.
Let's talk about your granddaughter because this is a really
Yeah.
poignant story.
I had a granddaughter. Her name was Shakaya. She was 12 years old. She passed away June of last year.
Yes.
Very happy little girl, had everything in the world. And all of a sudden, one day, she's caught a cold. So we thought she just had a regular cold. So she just started getting sicker and sicker. So we took her to the hospital. They said, "Oh, nothing wrong. She got the flu." Okay. The next day, my mom took her back, and oh, she got the flu. Her arm swelled up, and it was just from the IV. So the third day, to start that Saturday, that Sunday, and that Monday, that third day, my mom took her back. It's like this is not normal,
Something's
and
wrong.
they're like, it is. She just had the flu. That's it. So later on that Monday night, she's like, "Grandma, I can't move my arms. I can't move my legs." I had her since she was 3 days old. I can't move my arms. I can't move my legs. So my mom called the ambulance, and the ambulance came and they took her to the hospital. So they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. By 12 o'clock that next day, she was dead. In the 12 hours she was in the hospital, she had 3 heart attacks.
Oh my God.
All her organs started failing. And we come to find out when the autopsy was done, she had a disease called Portella oris, which is a disease that kids catch. And you would think it's the flu, but it's not. And we had no idea. No idea.
I've never heard of this.
She died within 12 hours of being in the hospital. From 3 days before, going to school, having fun, playing, to dead in 72 hours.
My God.
And it devastated me.
It takes a lot of courage to talk about this.
It did, and she was my life. Everything I'd done for her. So what I did was I started a fragrance line for little girls called Six Tween, from 6 to 13, Six Tween. People can find it at sixtween.org. And there's a fragrance called Kaya 12, which is a sweet vanilla scent because she was sweet and she loved to smell good. That's why I did the fragrance line. And we do have one for little boys called Breezy because I just knew some, and they did. Someone was going to say, well, do you have one for boys? So I got 3 scents for little girls and one for boys. Boys Breezy. There's Kaya 12. There's Dream Angel. And then there's Baby Cakes, which is baby powder
Oh,
scent.
wow.
And I called it Six Tween.
That has her living on, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I didn't stop there. I was gonna make sure my baby name lived forever. So what I did was, last week I signed a lease to get a house in Orange County, Tustin, and it's called Kaya's House. And her name was Shakaya, but we called her Kaya. It's called Kaya's House, and it's gonna be a treatment facility for women and pregnant women that want to be clean and women that want us to help them get their kids back. Because if kids are in the system, I've seen kids in the system, they're the most angry kids, most violent kids, because they're missing something, and what they're missing is their mother. So we can get some of these ladies that really want their kids back, we'll go to bat. I've helped so many women get their kids
Good
back.
for you.
So I mean thousands, and we're on the list at Children's Court. It's number 5.
Oh, that's
Number
wonderful.
5 on the list. We were getting so many calls, and I'm still getting them today, because what I did was I closed that part of Changing Steps down, but I kept calling the number. We had that number for 13 years, and the number was available. I called AT&T, and I said, "Can I get that number?" The guy, first one, he said no. Then I called back. I said, "I want that number. Can I get it?" The guy gave it to me. It rings at my house right now, and I'm still getting children's services calls to help women.
I'm so touched that you had the courage to share this with my audience because it's raw. It was unexpected. I can relate to that. And you bring such a wealth of personal experience from that young, addicted young woman to who you are today. It's remarkable. It is a testament. It's oh man.
It's a change, and it's a process.
It's
a process, and I'm still God's work.
And how do you manage to balance your own life and do this?
It's hard. I almost died in 2010. I had a bleeding ulcer.
Oh my God.
I didn't know I had it till I passed out.
Wow.
And they told me that if I hadn't have came within 3 days, I'd be dead.
Wow.
I had 2. They were bleeding internally. But remember I told you I'm writing another book called No More Butterflies?
Yes, I'd like to hear about that.
I was a victim of domestic violence for years and years and years. So No More Butterflies is a word or phrase that's used because when you're getting ready to get abused, or even when you're getting ready, when you run out of drugs and you have no more, you getting drugs, you get this fluttering in your stomach like butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't have to get the butterflies from the drugs no more because I'm drug free.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to get the butterflies no more because I'm domestic violence free.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to get the butterflies from anything that's negative in my life today, because Belinda overcame a lot, and I'm helping other women. And that's why it's called No More Butterflies, because I have those no more.
Your children must be so proud.
I hope they are.
Well, not only your children, but everyone that comes across you and hears your story, because you speak from a place of knowledge and experience. I couldn't tell your story. I haven't had your story. I've had a different story. I had, in another couple of weeks from now, on March the 12th, 2009, my husband and I were at the Staples Center about to watch day 2 of the Pac-10 tournament.
Mm-hmm.
We had gone out for breakfast. We drove to the Staples Center. He sat down, and he died.
No.
He did. And it was unexpected. We were together. We were happy. It was shocking. I have 2 children. They lost their dad. And I it's funny. I've told this story a couple times, but I haven't shared it with you, so you didn't know this about me. But my husband was an engineer.
Uh-huh.
He lived by the 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 words "it is what it is," which always annoyed me, to be
Right.
honest with you, because I would always follow that with a comment, yeah, but it is like, no, it is what it is, period. Adapt.
Right.
Because it was logical. It made sense to him. And so consequently, he didn't walk around with any baggage. He didn't
Uh-huh.
walk around with unfinished stuff because there was no stuff in his life. It is what it is. If this is
That's
what
a good
happens,
thing.
it worked really well for him. I never really got it because it didn't really honestly make sense to me personally.
Right.
However, when he died, just like that, unexpectedly, I know you're probably familiar with those 5 terms of grief, and one of those terms of grief is denial, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of those, and anger, and
Oh, yes.
well, yes, and so you understand those five degrees, but for me, went straight to being adapting. I went straight to adapting. I adapted. I had to adapt. I didn't feel like I had a choice but
Right.
to adapt. And therefore, I did. And consequently, down the road, I ended up where I am here today. So I want to thank you so very much for taking the time out of your day to join me in this beautiful studio of LA Talk Live and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. We share that experience of losing somebody very close to us so unexpectedly.
You said March 9th is a day for you. March 7th is a day for me because my baby she would have been 13 on March 7th.
Interesting. Well, I have something that I need to share when we talk about I reinvented myself. That's kind of
Uh-huh.
how my family called what I did when I found myself suddenly being a talk show radio host. I mean, I've always talked, honey. This has never been a problem for me. Talking is what I do. Listening is what I could do better, but talking has never been an issue for me. And I just have something that I would like to share now that I really needed to write. So I apologize for those of you watching as I read this to you, but I needed to put my thoughts together. And I felt that if I was just speaking organically, I might skip something along the way. So I want you to hear what I'm about to say.
Okay.
And this is this. This is my last show in the LA Talk Live studio today. I want to thank you for being my guest in that
Aw.
process. There are many people I wish to thank. First, to Deb Blaine for seeing this opportunity, something I could have never imagined, and making this happen for me. It's been almost 3 years. I counted. It's been 150 weeks of shows. I want to thank you for introducing me to Richard Carr, who's been at that soundboard the entire time, as he is right now. I also want to thank Tia Raglan, my Tia the Terrific, that was my intern for the first 5 months, every day in the studio. To my buddy Alex Pasquale, who's here today, who's been recently assisting me. Thank you to all of you. The people off the camera are important. But to the 196 guests that have joined me, there just wouldn't have been a Born to Talk show without each and every one of you. Some of you were here more than once. You shared your stories and your passions about your lives, and it's been an honor to share the mic with you. To the hundreds of thousands, who would have ever imagined, listeners all over the country, thank you. I shouldn't have to look down to say that. Thank you for listening each week. However, I am not done yet. The show must go on. I will be taking my Born to Talk radio show to a new platform beginning next Monday, at 1 p.m. Pacific Time on Blog Talk Radio. By logging on to blogtalkradio.com/Born to Talk, you will be able to hear my show in a whole new way. I encourage you to listen in. My first guests will be Jim Mueller and Wanda Maureen Miller. Talking about the South Bay Stories show. This will be my 4th time with Jim. My website, Born to Talk Radio Show, remains the same, as does my focus to bring interesting guests for your listening pleasure. Now, the sky's the limit. I will be able to share a conversation with people from all over the world. This is an exciting news for me, and I hope you will continue to join me on this journey. You can still subscribe to my blog on borntotalkradioshow.com, my Facebook page, Born to Talk Radio Show, and to my personal page. Many of you know me as Marsha Wietecha, but if you were to find me on Facebook, you would find me as Marsha Berger, Bergher. My grandpa couldn't spell. Wietecha. And I would love to hear from you. Perhaps you live someplace other than Los Angeles and would like to be a guest. Drop me a note. Let's talk. And as I conclude this show today, as always, we hear a song that's ended my show every single week, and it's called Beautiful Day. And while this feels emotional, it also feels positive, because just as I reinvented myself as a talk show host, I haven't lost my identity. I have loved every minute of this with Richard. We are friends. He has been there for me through every single show. This is a loss for all of us. So to those of you that have followed me, don't lose sight of where I am. I'm still out here. Some might call it La La Land. I just call it the Born to Talk world, because I know that just like you, that's what I'm doomed to do. So I will miss sitting in my paradise building, but I won't miss hearing from you and sharing my life with you. Thank you so very, very much. Until next time, have a beautiful day.
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, for original reality radio and crafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.